everyone. Welcome to Literary Tuesdays. I am Marilyn Alexander, mentor, literary coach, publisher, and founder of Destined to Publish. Destined to Publish is an independent hybrid publishing company with a focus on literary coaching. With almost 20 years in the publishing industry, we have helped more than 350 authors, both nationally and abroad, to successfully publish their manuscripts. And today on Literary Tuesday, we are bringing you yet another one of our authors. His name is Greg Haynes, and his book is The Story Behind the Glory. So let's welcome him in. Hi, welcome, Greg. How are you doing?
I am blessed. I am thankful, and it's so good to see you.
It is so good to see you. We haven't talked in such a long time, and I am glad we have this opportunity to kind of reconnect and talk about something that I really love. But first, I want our audience to kind of hear a little bit about you. So tell us something about yourself.
No problem. I'm Greg Haynes. I was born as a child, but now I'm a grown man. But come from a family in St. Louis, Missouri. We were born and raised in the St. Louis housing projects, the Pruitt and Igo. My mother and father were very religious, and coming up with all the things going on in the projects. But my mother was a woman of prayer, and she prayed for us. And as a little boy, I had a speech impediment, and I did not want to talk around people. So you know how mothers are, baby. It's gonna be all right. You good, mama. I understand, but I didn't want to talk around other people at 5 and 6. So my mother prayed for me, and I found something I wanted to do. About 6 or 7, our church, a lady was playing a guitar, and in the Church of God in Christ, so Pentecostal church, we're known for our dancing and singing and shouting. So as this lady played the guitar, everybody began to dance. So I said, well, I want to dance too. 8 years old. So I said, you know what? I want to make people happy.
Yes.
So growing up, that was my claim to fame, is get in my room to play guitar, but we couldn't afford lessons. But my mother laid hands on me and prayed for me that God would open my ears. I play by ear and not by sight. But I thank God He has blessed me to continue. And as I continue, people began to hear about the boy with this guitar, even in high school, winning talent showcases. And then as I got older in my dad's church, he was starting pastoring. And that's when people started noticing me. The famous O'Neill twins, the movie Save Man, somebody, they called me. And so it's always been around music, but I always said, my main thing, I want to give back to the community. And those children who have a talent but could not afford lessons, we have all types of community events. And that's what I love to do. I'm a musician. I'm an artist. Me and my wife, we have the Anointed Music Ministry, and we have what we call the Happy Guitar.
And that's your nickname, according to your hat and according to everybody that knows you, is Happy, right?
Right, that's correct. My cousin was in a revival in the church, and everybody started dancing, and the revivalist came out and said, I'm going to give you a name. You are Greg Haynes and the Happy Guitar.
Yes.
That stuck. That was in 1979.
Wow.
Now, I didn't know about branding, so that was a brand. It's all over in Europe and across the world that I've traveled.
Well, now, another one of your claim to fames now is what we're going to talk about today, which is your first book. I'm saying first, we're saying first, which is called The Story Behind the Glory. And that is a spectacular title. So let's just start there. Tell me what the title actually means.
Well, over the years, I've always been asked about my accomplishments as a happy guitarist. This includes my experience as an independent recording artist, extensive traveler, entrepreneur and event planner, and a program mentor. Sometimes it's deceiving to look at the result of glory and achievements, not realizing the story or journey. When I traveled with stage plays in the 90s, and when it was time for the curtain call and the actors and actresses would come on stage and bow, and they receive all the accolades. But no one knew early earlier of the stagehand. They didn't know about the lighting process and the sound and the stagehands, all things like that. They never knew about the backstory. They never knew what it took to get that. So if you're a business entrepreneur, if you're in ministry, you have to prepare, you have to search, you have to research. So I always wanted to talk about the backstories. I think it's equally important for me to share backstories of shame, guilt, and insecurities. Now, everything is not negative. There's a lot of things when we come to the story behind the glory. It's great. The process is for any progress. That means to study to show yourself approved. That means to learn, search, and research and things like that. So that's what it's all about. It's not just about me, but I have a lot of my personal information like humble beginnings. But the book will also inspire a person to understand what's the backstory, the story behind it, and then achieve your achievements and go from there.
And so in that instance, got a little feedback. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, so that is, oh boy.
I don't have anything else at home.
Neither do I. And it just came on.
But the purpose of the book is to motivate and to inspire.
Testing.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so what I was going to say is, yes, the purpose of the book is to inspire. And in your synopsis of what you just said, glory can also be substituted with victory. So for every victory, there's a backstory. And I love that, and so people would see the title, the story behind the glory, and not understand that the glory is not necessarily God's glory, although it is God's glory. But there are victories, and there are challenges and victories in everybody's life. And in that instance, those victories, in order to get to the victory, there has to be a backstory. I love that. I love the fact that, of what you're sharing there. So tell us, I think I got my next question already answered, in which I was going to ask you about your inspiration. But in telling a sort of semi-biographical book, there is a lot of transparency that goes on. What was the hardest moment that you had to write about when you got into sort of dissecting things for your book?
Well, first of all, this was uncharted territory to write a book. My first book, I was thinking, and I wanted the book to have some transparency. I don't want people to feel like, oh, he's talking about this and what all he achieved. But I wanted people to know I'm just like you. I have some situations go on in my life, and I think we all do. Yes. And if we be transparent, then someone would say, okay, you don't have to be this special guy, this special lady, just achieve this worship and praise God, and ask questions. All right to be heard. But it's all right to don't stay in it, but you can come out of it. And that was the hardest thing to say, do I want to share this? Do I not? And of course, I know we'll get to that later, but the wonderful coaches really inspired me. No, you tell it. Like whatever's downloaded in your spirit that you think it will be a blessing to someone to do it.
Right. And so at that, even in scripture, we learn that, we have to have, we're supposed to be a testimony. Right. And so this book is really a testimony to the things that God has done in your life and where you stand right now. And I'm glad you say that.
And I want to say it's okay to seek professional help and to use research. I had a friend of mine was sharing with me that plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. And that's the reason why I am so glad about your company. I mean, because I was seeking and searching, and I didn't know. But you know what helped me? I have 8 CD projects, but my first CD project, I went to the store and bought many CDs. I sat down on my floor, in the living room floor, and put them all out and say, okay, I chose something from that one. Something was hard to read. I didn't want to do that, you know. So with the book, I began to go to the bookstores and look at other books. And I called a friend of mine, Monty Weatherall, and I bought his book. And I was so impressed with the printing. I was so impressed with, the cover. And so that was one of the things that really helped. You got to see. You just can't sit around. I want to write a book, and now you got to invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself. Yes. So, can you tell us one of your favorite? Because this is an autobiographical book. Can you tell us one of your favorite stories that you got a chance to sort of share in your book?
Two of them: defining your purpose and fulfilling your destiny. Mm-hmm. I like that word, destiny. I'm, destined to publish. But anyway, but pursue to possess. Here's a quick story. I'll make it really quick, because you cannot possess what you don't pursue. I wanted to be a part of a national stage play. I was with Edwin Hawkins and Delilah Williams. But they say they didn't need a guitar player, but they needed a drummer or the bass guitar. But I wanted to go because I was going through some things in my life. I said, I need to get away. I need to get away with the circus. The circus is coming to town. That's my mentality. I need to get out of here. Yes. And they said, no, we don't really need that. So I had to take my nephew for the audition. But when I took him, I brought my guitar. And the guy said, well, we don't need a guitar player. So I asked the writer, I said, listen, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do. She said, well, Edwin Hawkins have to hear you play. And he wouldn't give me an audition. Then they came to St. Louis. I was in Kansas City. They came to St. Louis. And when he went for lunch, I went down in the musical pit, left my guitar up. And when he came from lunch, he heard me playing. And he smiled. He said, okay. He said, but I don't think she really wants a guitar player. So I told her, well, did he hear you play? I said, yes. She went to him, can he play? She said, yeah. She said, go pack your bags. You're going on the road with us. And so that's just one of the things. It just was really amazing because I pursued.
Yes.
Now, that was a bold move, but I did it.
So someone else in your position, if they're reading and they're understanding these stories, when you're talking about pursue, inspire them right now. Tell them exactly what you felt in that moment. Because that takes a lot of boldness to be able to do that. First of all, tell us what you were going through in that moment. Tell us where you were mentally, physically, emotionally in that moment, because that was a really, really bold move.
Yes, I was going through some personal things in my life and my family, and I know I needed to get away, but I began to pray and I began to seek God. And a friend of mine said, whatever you do, Mr. Edwin Hawkins has to hear you play. I said, well, how am I going to do that when he said he won't give me an opportunity? So I was just thinking and in my heart, I said, well, he already told me I couldn't go. So what is it going to hurt? As long as he heard me play. And after the Bible says your gift will make room for you.
That's where I want you to go. Inspire people.
For great men and women. And that's what happened. And so once he heard my heart, and he knew I wasn't just trying to get over, but he saw my heart. I think he just looked in the window of my heart, my eyes, that I wanted to do it. And then once I got the job, he came to me personally and said, I am so glad that you allowed this to happen, because you are a great part of this production. We really need someone of your character and your feel and your sound. So glory to God. So pursue, find different ways. And, my cousin needed a job. He went to a construction site, and he just started picking up a hammer and started hammering. He said, wait, you got to go through. You got to get send in your resume, or you got to fill out an application. He said, but since you're so bold to come on this site and work, I know you're a good worker. So they hired him on the spot. That's just some little different things,
But in that instance, in those instances, you have to get past your insecurities. You have to get past, all of those roadblocks, that mental blocks that we put up in our own minds, and push out to say, this is what I know God has given me to do. Because if you only look at those roadblocks, first of all, you wouldn't have gone to the audition. Secondly, you wouldn't have been so bold as to play, and you would not have had that phenomenal opportunities. And I think a lot of times we miss out on opportunities because we don't take the time to do those bold moves and believe in ourselves, to understand that, God, you put me in this position for a reason, and I could either let it pass me by or I can roll with it.
Can I say this real quick?
Sure.
In the stage play, they had me to pay homage to B.B. King. So it was about 60 seconds. But while I was in Memphis at the Orpheum Theater, B.B. King was in town at his B.B. King's club. And so after the show, I went down there and told him I was paying him homage, and he gave me guitar picks and pictures, and didn't know. Now let me just fast forward. After he passed away, I was called to come to a certain city that had this guitar that he actually played. This Lucille guitar is the guitar that B.B. King actually played.
Wow.
And who would know that then I got a call. This is just recently after I got the guitar. I was just honored to have it.
Yes.
And just a few months ago, I got a call to audition for the B.B. King tour. I went to Arkansas and I drove down. We went down and I played. And I came back home and they said, if you want the job, you got the job, because you know the very essence of B.B. King in his playing and his style. Plus, you have one of his Lucille guitars. And so I'm on a tour in December, 25 cities, Europe. I tell you, Spain and Paris and Switzerland. I think only because I pursued those years ago.
Yes.
Look at me now.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Amazing. Now, let me just ask you, because people will look at your book, and there are, you not only wrote the book, but you added images, pictures to every chapter. And what was your inspiration behind adding the pictures? Why was that so important that you add those pictures to your book?
And I remember asking you personally, I said, do you think? And you said, well, if it goes along, if it will inspire. And what it is, I got pictures in the book, about humble beginning. It kind of shows me as a little boy, some pictures, and my church. And then in other chapters, it showed, even then, I wrote about the guitar, the B.B. King guitar, and, didn't know, and about the happy guitar, and would be with Chuck Berry. So about pursuit to possess. And I think what people, they could actually feel they understood what I was talking about. You could write things down, but we're in a society where we like to see things.
Visual, yes.
So with the pictures, it showed what I was talking about. It brought it to life, Yeah, so I think that was the main thing.
And I enjoyed the pictures because you're absolutely right. It takes us into the experience. So there is we could imagine these places, but having to see all of the images sort of along and as they are placed in the chapters. So there's specific importance to each picture and where those pictures belong. So I really enjoyed reading the stories and also being able to see it in a different way. So I actually
I know a lot of people that were saying how they were blessed by it, made them understood more and appreciated the writing in the chapters, but also to see those images, to back it up.
Yes. So now that you say that, tell us because this was actually, we're publishing in 2019, and so tell us actually what was the most inspiring person who's come to you to say, I really enjoyed this book. Tell us about that moment. Who was that person?
And it is a plethora of people. Even recently, I was in California, and there was, I hadn't traveled and toured with my book since 2019, end of 2019. But people are coming and saying, I saw myself in this book. I mean, male, female, even preachers who were, and I mean, it was so many. It's like I said, it's a plethora of them. And I was wondering, because many people see the glory, but they don't know your story.
Right.
And everybody has some type of story.
Everybody has a story.
And, and I talked about how I was so afraid to move forward. I always wanted to write a book, but because it was uncharted territory, I stayed back. I said, you got to do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Many times people just will not fulfill their dream. That's why I say you got to define your purpose and fulfill your destiny. You got to fulfill it. And I am blessed by so many people ongoing. I mean, even across the country, ongoing about how this book has inspired them to get up and do what they're supposed to do.
To get up and get moving and do what you're supposed to do. That is it. Because there is no victory if you're sitting still. There's no glory, there's no victory. And not only do you not move from that place, but God doesn't get the glory either from the talents and the gifts that he's put in front of us. And if we don't use them, he's certainly not going to let that gift die. He's going to allow other people to be fruitful in it. And in that instance, he will always get the glory, but you won't have a story to tell. So I'm grateful. Tell me this. If there was one person in all of the earth, in all of the world, that you would like to get your book in front of, who would that be and why?
Wow. I don't have a name, but I just think it would be a person who I could see myself in with a gift or a talent, but still has insecurity. I want to get the book in the hand of that person, not so much some person who has made it and with a big name. I mean, that's fine to have them read it. But I just want to find someone with insecurities and don't know how to fulfill their purpose. And we said that many times we have fear. I wrote a verse called "The Fear Is Gone." God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power of love and a sound mind. But that way, making wisdom choices and searching and researching. So I don't have a particular name. Of course, I would have loved for B.B. King to have read the book, like that, because he inspired me. You know what I mean? And so that's, I don't have a particular name for a person.
No, but I love that. I love the humility in that, in the fact that is the purpose of the book, to inspire and to bring other people along and to let them see where you came from and let them see that no matter where they are in their life, that the success is not up to them. Success is up to God.
That's
and
right.
Them being obedient to the call that God has placed on their lives. So I love that. You came to us from a referral, and when you got to us, when you got to us, when we had our first conversation, our conversation was kind of strange because you were almost finished with the book.
I thought.
Yeah. you were almost finished with the book. And so we talked. And so from that point of us talking, you actually went into our with one of our literary coaches into our cohort. And literally they had you to take the book apart and then put the book back together. So some people might be really discouraged to be maybe 80% done with their book and then kind of have to dissect it to reconnect it. So tell us about that process for you. Why was that important? What do you think the process would have been had you not? What was the process because you did? Tell us about that.
I'm glad you asked that question, and I'm talking to somebody. I really want you to understand. I mean, I had some of the right content that I wanted to do, but like as I said, uncharted territory. I wasn't really sure And when I came, first of all, when I was calling in numbers, and I talked to this lovely lady that we're talking to right now with her pleasant voice, and I feel in my spirit that she was a child of God. She didn't rush me. Oh, you got to come with this company. She didn't say that. Well, she said, take your time and look, and we'll show you what we have. So when I came back, and I said, you know what? I think I want to try this company. And when I met some of the coaches, it was a humbling experience.
Hmm.
It was like, yeah, you got some things, but now we got to make sure, we got to make sure things are in order in a proper place. She said, you might want to change your the name of your book. I said, oh no, I'm not changing that. I know God gave me that. She said, okay, well, we're gonna make it fit. And the process of the coaching was so important. I mean, if I had to release the book, there were people saying, do it yourself. You save money. Go to do it yourself book and get it done and just send it out. It would not have been looking like this. The people who see this book, it is professional, beautiful cover, the back and the front. And I changed some things around because of my coaches, and I will forever be grateful to them because it just made the book come alive. So that's what I can say about it.
Well, the other thing too, I think even in that, and that I am so happy to hear you say that. Sometimes people, the one thing, if I can go back to just a couple of minutes ago when you were talking, it's like you don't know how much to share and you don't want to share too much. There's a really fine line right there that authors have to write because you have to connect to your audience. And if you're not if you're not sharing personal experience, then they won't learn anything. It's really surface. And one thing about being an author, that connection is what matters to your audience. Can you talk to that?
You know what? That's so important. I forget. I had two coaches, and I got down to one. I'm not sure which one it was.
So it was Deborah and Kara, and then you ended up with you. So then we split out, and so you end up with one coach after that.
Right. So as they researched and went on my website and found some things about me and the music I have composed, she said, treat this book like you do your CD. He said, you glean, you got to get songs, you got to write, and you got to put the songs together, you got to record it, you got to have it mastered, you got to have a right cover. A light bulb clicked on, and that made me go forward.
Wow.
Because of that. She said, it's no difference. When you're playing from your heart, and you got to have the songs in order to let it link up to where you just don't put all fast songs in the beginning, all slow songs. You got to mix it up. And so those were some of the things that was really important that you got to pursue. You might not be a musician, but there's got to be something that you can glean from. And with the coaches, oh my goodness, they just led me in the right direction. And then they put it on me. All right, when you come back, when you get it better, come back in 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't know what to do. But they were so nice. And they said, we're going to help you do this. And so I just tell anybody, you got to have, please don't be so to the point where you can do it all, especially you don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely. And when you say they put it back on you, the goal of coaching is not to write the book for you.
Exactly.
Because you can't. Your voice is what people are connected to, and your voice is what your audience needs to hear. So if we were to tell everybody what to do, then everything would sound the same. And for each individual author, you all have unique and individual voices. And so the instructors and the instructions that the coach will give you will line up things. And then as you go back and you're praying and you're writing and you're coming back, they're reading each and every time to give you pointers to kind of say, okay, this connects, or can we do something else? But it actually helps to kind of align things to make sure that what you said you were trying to do in the beginning is what you end up doing in the end. Like even with your title, the story behind the glory, when she said, well, we're going to make it fit your title. Now, normally we don't do that. But in this particular instance, it was so important for you to have that title, but the content had to fit it.
Right.
There are a lot of times where you can see a title of a book and you read the book and it's nothing like that, or it's so much more than that the title really has to connect with the people and with your story. How does that line up for you?
It really does, as you're saying. When I went to the coaches and they just made it come to life, and it made me dig deeper, and then it made me even I have a CD to go with the book, the same title. I wrote a song, The Story Behind the Glory. So it all began to parallel, but I had to be humble enough to admit I didn't know what I was doing, and to be teachable.
Yes.
That's very important.
Yes.
I had to be teachable, and the people who have the experience. So what I would say to people is listen, learn, and don't be too proud to know that you don't know it all. And that's where the coaches come to me, come in hand, because they taught me and shared with me, but they made me go out. Now you're gonna write this book, and you're too close. You're on the right track, but we're just gonna give you these pointers and follow these guidelines, and you won't go. The guidelines were so important.
Absolutely. Well, God gives us guidelines too in our life, and I'm appreciative of that. Well, Greg, I thank you so much for spending this time with us. And again, he is Greg Haynes, and his book is The Story Behind the Glory. I'm Marilyn Alexander, and this is Literary Tuesdays with Destined to Publish. And if you want to connect with us like Greg did, visit our website, www.destinedtopublish.com. And I'm going to let Greg play us out. Why don't you do that? Can you do that for us?
Oh, okay, I can do a little something.
I love it.